to all you big children out there. Konnichiwa! And welcome to the Tokyo Joshi Pod, your weekly dose of everything TJPW. I'm your host Andy Zyke, and we've got a bonus episode today. That's right, surprise! This is going to be the first in a short series of bonus episodes that'll be a beginner's guide to TJPW. Now don't worry, weekly Tokyo Joshi Pod episodes are still coming every Friday covering current events. These bonus episodes will likely be once a month or so, not totally sure about the schedule, but we're going to start with the beginner's guide, but I do still have a few other ideas cooking for these bonus episodes as well, so stay tuned. So if you're new to TJPW, whether from listening to this podcast or finding it on your own and stumbling across this beginner's guide, where's the best place to start? Well, with the women who make TJPW what it is, the wrestlers themselves. We're going to go one by one through the active roster on this beginner's guide. We're going to talk about their names, their nicknames, their wrestling style, any major accomplishments that they may have had, their signature moves, and just any other information that might be pertinent or interesting to know as you learn who these wrestlers are. Timestamps are included in the description of this episode, so you can jump around to any athlete that you're curious about, or if you need a refresher about someone, you can jump directly to that person as you take in more Tokyo Joshi Pro Wrestling. Before we get started, there's a few basic things to understand just so you're not flying totally blind as we dive in, and we'll dive more into these subjects on future bonus episodes maybe, but the things to know briefly are TJPW has 3 major championships. The Princess of Princess title, which is the primary championship in the promotion. It is the main event title. There is the International Princess title. This is the secondary belt in the promotion. Think of it like an Intercontinental Championship if you're a fan of WWE, or maybe a white belt Wonder of Stardom Championship if you're a fan of other Joshi wrestling. And then finally we have the Princess Tag Team titles. These are the Tag Team Championships in TJPW. There is also 3 major tournaments that take place every single year. The first, the Tokyo Princess Cup. This is the primary single elimination tournament where the winner of the Tokyo Princess Cup goes on to challenge for the Princess of Princess title. There is also the Futariwa Max Heart Tournament. This is the tag team tournament, again, single elimination that TJPW puts on every single year. The winners of this Futariwa Max Heart Tournament typically go on to challenge for the Princess Tag Team titles. And the third, the Next Gen Tournament. This is essentially a tournament for first and second year wrestlers to prove their worth as the next generation. In the past, they've done this as both a single and double elimination tournament. The winner typically gets a title shot of their choosing. Something else that's important to know, unlike companies like Stardom or New Japan, or even AEW and WWE to a certain extent, there are no factions or stables in TJPW. There is one group, but they are an idol group, and that's kind of tied into the fabric of what TJPW is all about, more of the performance side of wrestling, the idol culture in Japan. Now, since this is audio only and there are no pictures or video to go along with it, to help you remember the competitors a little bit easier, I've bucketed them into 5 groups. Now, most of these groups don't really mean anything, it's just my way of having a little bit of fun as we go through this beginner's guide. I've also tried not to date this too much. This will be accurate as of November of 2025, but I've designed this guide to help you associate the girls with the gear that they wear, their nicknames, their moves, that sort of thing. So without any further ado, let's jump into our first group, which we're going to call Pillars and Legacy. There are 7 girls in this group that we'll talk about. Basically, these are the foundational wrestlers, the ones that have long tenure with TJPW and have major influence within the company and have built what the company means today. These are essentially the women who built the house. There's no better place to start than with the leader of TJPW, Miyu Yamashita. Miyu Yamashita, known as the Pink Striker. Now, known as the Pink Striker, she does wear maroon-colored gear. She is the leader of the company both in name and standing. She's essentially the ace of the promotion. When you watch Miyu Yamashita, she is very calm, cool, and collected. A lot of her wrestling style has some MMA influence within it. She is a 4-time Princess of Princess champion, a 2-time Princess Tag Team champion, and she's also won the Tokyo Princess Cup and the Max Heart tournament. Within her moveset, She typically does a lot of kicks and strikes. Some of her finishing moves include the skull kick, the crash rabbit heat, which is basically a running knee attack, and then the attitude adjustment, which, yes, is borrowed from John Cena, same attitude adjustment. You may already be familiar with Miyu Yamashita. She does frequently travel overseas, in Asia, in Europe, in the UK, in the USA. She basically goes everywhere. She also used to tag with former TJPW wrestler Maki Ito in a tag team known as 1-2 Million. Miyu is known as one of the 4 pillars of TJPW. The second pillar of TJPW, Shoko Nakajima, better known as the 1.47 meter big kaiju. Shoko is very recognizable. She dresses in kaiju-inspired gear. For those unfamiliar, a kaiju is like Godzilla or some sort of a giant monster. Shoko is very fast-paced, lucha-inspired type of wrestling. She's the one that you can use the phrase, "This wrestler can wrestle a broom and have a good match." That's Shoko Nakajima. She is a former Princess of Princess champion twice, a 2-time Princess Tag Team champion. She has also won the Tokyo Princess Cup and the Max Heart tournament. Within her matches, you'll see her finish her opponents off typically with a Northern Lights suplex, maybe a diving senton from the top rope. She also does the 619 quite a bit. Shoko is another wrestler who frequently travels overseas. She's also one half of a tag team known as Raku Kiyome alongside Hyper Misao. The third of the 4 pillars, Rika Tatsumi, also known as the White Dragon. Conveniently, Rika wears a lot of white and black gear, so she's easy to remember. Rika is very elegant in the ring, but also very deadly. She gives off quite the punk rock type of a vibe, and she can be very deceptively violent. Rika is a former Princess of Princess champion, International Princess champion, and Princess Tag Team champion. She is only one of 2 wrestlers in TJPW to hold the Grand Slam, winning all 3 of the TJPW championships. In addition to her championships, she has also won the Max Heart tournament. You'll see Rika frequently use what she calls the White Dragon Sleeper. She also uses the Twist of Fate quite a bit, something called the Missile Hip, which is just a running hip attack, and then she also has an elbow drop, which you'll see her use in almost all of her matches. She shouts out in Japanese, "Let's go!" The audience chants along with her. It's somewhat of like a people's elbow, but the Rika Tatsumi style. Rika does have a tag team partner. She's one half of a tag team known as Daydream with her partner Miu Watanabe. Rika also really enjoys choking people, so you'll see that quite a bit in some of her matches. She also has a really big crush on the wrestler known as Mizuki. Next up, we have Hyper Misao. Hyper Misao is your new hero protecting love and peace. Very easy to remember. She wears bright green and pink gear. She has a mask. She essentially dresses as a superhero. Basically, she is a comic book superhero come to life with a lot of chaotic energy. She frequently uses props in her match. She comes up with these really creative gimmick matches like trivia, Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, death matches that involve silly objects like toys and things like that. She always has something up her sleeve. Misao is a 2-time Princess Tag Team champion. She has also won the Max Heart tournament, and for the past 3 years, Hyper Misao has put on her own produce show called Hype. This is a little bit different from other produce shows. It's more of a narrative theater experience that also includes wrestling. In her matches, she typically dives off of the corner turnbuckle known as the I Am a Hero dive. She also submits opponents quite often with the chicken wing facelock. Misao is the other half of Raku Kiyome alongside Shoko Nakajima. She frequently uses cold spray in her matches quite a bit, and she also has a bicycle from time to time that's known as the Hypermobile. Perhaps one of the most well-known TJPW wrestlers on social media is Mizuki. Her nickname, the Popping Sugar Rabbit. Mizuki typically wears all white gear, although recently she has begun wearing some all black gear as well. Mizuki is very high speed, high flying, high energy. She has a lot of charisma, but she can also be very ferocious. Mizuki is a 2-time Princess of Princess champion, a 3-time Princess Tag Team champion, and one of the few people to win the Tokyo Princess Cup more than once. You may have seen some of Mizuki's highlights on social media. She typically finishes her opponent off with something known as the Cutie Special, which is a variation on a fisherman suplex. She also does the diving foot stomp quite a bit from the top rope, and in perhaps her most viral move, the Whirling Candy, which is a crossbody where she rotates herself 360 degrees in midair. Mizuki is one half of a tag team known as the Magical Sugar Rabbits alongside Yuka Sakazaki, who is no longer with TJPW. She is now in AEW. She is also a part of a former group known as the Ito Respect Army, which was a group formed by Maki Ito in her early days with the promotion. Mizuki, very cute, but very deadly. Speaking of elegance, Yuki Kamifuku, also known as Kamiyu or the Casual Beauty. Kamifuku typically wears this blue denim-looking gear. Kamifuku is the tallest member of the roster. You'll see that she stands quite a bit above a lot of the other girls. She plays this aloof model type, a lot of deadpan comedy in her work. Given her height, there's a lot of leg-based offense when she's in the ring, a lot of big boots, a lot of leg drops, that sort of thing. She's the too cool for school type that likes to bully other people around. Kamifuku is a former International Princess Champion and also Princess Tag Team Champion, currently reigning as one half of the team Ober Eats. In addition to that leg-based offense, Kamiyu finishes her opponents off with a famouser. She also likes to poke them in the eyes quite a bit. Interesting note about Kamiyu is that she is almost fluent in English, spending some time in Ohio as a younger kid. Now you're probably thinking, you mentioned there were 4 pillars, but you've only named 3. The 4th pillar is Yuka Sakazaki, who is no longer wrestling in TJPW. She is now signed to AEW, but she does make frequent appearances in TJPW maybe once or twice a year. Yuka is known as the Magical Girl. She is a 3-time Princess of Princess champion, a 4-time Princess Tag Team champion, and a Tokyo Princess Cup winner. We do talk about her quite a bit on the podcast. Yuka Sakazaki, currently in AEW. The next group of wrestlers we'll talk about is an actual group within TJPW. There are 4 wrestlers here known as the Up Up Girls. This is basically the group that gives TJPW its identity. The Up Up Girls are an idol group. They usually kick off every TJPW show with a performance in the ring, singing and dancing a song from their catalog. They also wrestle, though they are not to be taken lightly. They are an offshoot of a mainstream idol group also known as the Up Up Girls. To distinguish between the two of them, these Up Up Girls are known as the Up Up Girls Pro Wrestling. The leader of the Up Up Girls is Miu Watanabe. She is the pink member, wears a lot of pink gear, very easy to remember. Miyu is a powerhouse idol. She has superhuman strength and a very bubbly personality. Miu Watanabe is a 2-time Princess of Princess champion and the current Princess of Princess champion. She's a former International Princess champion and a former Princess Tag Team champion, the second of 2 competitors to be a Grand Slam holder in TJPW. Watanabe has also won the Tokyo Princess Cup and the Max Heart Tournament, giving her a slight edge above Rika Tatsumi, the other Grand Slam champion, as she has also won both of the major TJPW tournaments. In the ring, Watanabe uses a lot of power-based offense. Her finishing move is the teardrop. She busts out a lot of backbreakers, specifically the Canadian backbreaker. One of the biggest spots of all of her matches is the giant swing, where no matter the size of the opponent, she will lift them up and swing them around. She also does a softball chop that she calls the laser beam. Miyu is the other half of the tag team Daydream with Rika Tatsumi, and likely is being built up as the future ace of the company. The second of 4 Up Up Girls is Raku. Raku is the yellow member of the Up Up Girls. She wears a lot of yellow attire. She usually carries a pillow with her to the ring, or sometimes a duvet. Now you're probably thinking, pillow, duvet, what the heck does that have to do with wrestling? Raku's gimmick is that of one who loves to sleep. She frequently sleeps within her matches. A lot of her maneuvers are built around sleeping. Raku is also a big fan of trains. For the longest time, she would introduce her train of the day. A lot of her maneuvers are based after trains or sleeping. Her finishing move is known as Dr. Yellow, which is a neckbreaker type maneuver. Dr. Yellow was a former train in Japan, which was painted all yellow. She does the hurricane turn, which is basically a twisting type of a roll-up pin maneuver. She chops her opponents quite frequently with what are called popo chops, popo being an onomatopoeia for the sound that trains make. She also will do a move called the Oyasumi Express. You can't miss it. She does it in every match. She shouts it out. She basically runs over and over again on top of her opponent. In addition to being a member of the Up Girls, Raku is one half of a tag team known as Raku Pom with Pom Harajuku. She is also 1/3 of a group known as the Love Triangle, bit of an unofficial group, alongside Pom Harajuku and Yuki Aino. If all that wasn't enough, within TJPW canon, she is also married to Ram Kaichou, who is not a full-time TJPW member, but Ram Kaichou does appear quite often. She wears face paint. Ram Kaichou, another one you can't miss, married to Raku. The only other thing to look out for with Raku is her lullaby, because when she starts singing, no one can stay awake. The third of 4 Up Girl members is Shino Suzuki. She is the green member of the group and appropriately wears green gear. Shino is the ultimate underdog. She has a lot of fiery enthusiasm in her matches, a little bit of comedy as well. She was actually a former bus tour guide, and she mixes that into her repertoire by doing a move that we call at the podcast the turnbuckle tour guide spot. I don't think it's officially called that, but essentially she guides her opponent to each of the turnbuckles as if she were giving them a tour of the ring. Shino also busts out a sleeper hold in her matches, and she is one half of the tag team known as Bumping Gritters alongside Himawari. The fourth and final member of the Up Girls, the newest member of the Up Girls, is Uta Takami. She is the white member of the group, and appropriately wears white and a little bit of red in her gear. While she's not the shortest member of the roster, Uta is definitely one of the smallest, and you can pick her out quite easily. She is very squeaky, she is fun-sized, she's very charming, very adorable. She embodies the word wholesome. Uta Takami is a former Next Gen tournament winner, and she loves ice cream. Don't we all love ice cream? What better reason to become a fan of Uta Takami? Uta mixes a lot of drop kicks into her matches. She also has a finishing move known as the Koala Clutch, which is a submission hold where she basically latches herself onto her opponent like a koala. The next unofficial group of talent that we'll talk about we'll call the Workhorses. I've slotted 4 girls into this group. These are the consistent performers, the ones who are in matches that you just can't miss. They seem to always be circling titles. They're basically the in-ring engines that keep things running within TJPW. First up, Yuki Aino, also known as the Burning Venus. Yuki wears gear that has a lot of pink and red and white in it. Aino is a powerful veteran powered by love and fire. She's a former 2-time Princess Tag Team Champion. Within her matches, she has a lot of different maneuvers themed around her gimmick of love and fire. The Unlimited Burning Venus, which is a variation of a double-arm sidebuster, the Venus DDT, the Full Nelson of Love and Fire, and she also frequently busts out a gut-wrench suplex. Aino is one half of a tag team known as Yuki Niki alongside Aniki, Yuki Niki. She's also 1/3 of the Love Triangle alongside Raku and Pom Harajuku. She's actually the former TJPW ring announcer, joined the promotion alongside her sister, who is now retired, and once her sister retired, shifted into full-time competition. The next workhorse we'll talk about is Suzume. Suzume, also known as Vivid Honey Mustard. Yes, that's right, Vivid Honey Mustard. Suzume typically wears neon green gear. She has her hair in pigtails quite often. Suzume is quick, high-flying, also bee-themed for some reason. She really loves bees or wasps. She is a former International Princess Champion, a former Princess Tag Team Champion, and she's won the Max Heart Tag Team Tournament. She is one half of a very popular tag team known as Daisy Monkey alongside Arisu Endo. She finishes off her opponents with the Ring a Bell, which is an RKO style cutter. She also does quite a lot of face busters throughout her matches. Speaking of Daisy Monkey, we have Arisu Endo. Arisu has a nickname. It's not quite a common nickname, but she typically gets introduced as she saves people with her smile. She always has a big smile on her face, a thumbs up. She wears purple gear, and her hair is always multicolored like a rainbow. It's very hard to miss Arisu Endo when you turn on TJPW. Arisu is the current International Princess Champion, a former Princess Tag Team Champion, and she's won the Max Heart Tag Team Tournament. She is the other half of the popular tag team known as Daisy Monkey alongside Suzume. She typically finishes her opponents off with a Hercules cutter that she calls the Juno Okite. She also typically puts on the Camel Clutch as well. The final competitor that will slot into the workhorse category is Yuki Arai. Yuki Arai, also known as the Genius Girl, typically wears royal blue colored gear. Arai is still kind of finding her way in the ring. She does use quite a few strikes, very focused, very disciplined. She has a really, really high ceiling and is being positioned as such within TJPW. She is a former International Princess Champion, a former Princess Tag Team Champion, and formerly of an idol group known as SKE 48, who she recently graduated from and shifted into wrestling full-time just a few years ago. Within Arai's matches, you will typically see her lock in a sharpshooter. She does a move called the Full Nelson Buster, and her finishing move is known as Finally, which is an overhead axe kick. The next unofficial group we'll talk about is what I'm calling the Lovables. Now, I've put 7 girls in this list, and these are the distinct characters, the ones who have a very iconic gimmick, an endearing trait, the ones that the fans really love and latch on to. These are the big personalities that make TJPW fun. We'll start with Pom Harajuku, also known as the Harajuku Kawaii Wrestler. Pom, also very hard to miss. She wears a lot of plaid gear, one of the only people to have plaid gear. Harajuku has a lot of goblin-like energy. She is a 3-year-old, and she will let you know it. She does a lot of shin kicks that don't really do anything. She has a really loud voice that plays into matches quite often, and she typically uses cowardice as a strategy. Despite that, Pom has some pretty creative moves in the ring. One of her finishing moves is known as Pom de Justice, which is a step-up leg drop. She also will typically bust out the Lafayette Harajuku, which is a twirling head scissors, and the Den Den Daiko, which is basically her hitting her opponent with her fists over the top of her head as if they were a drum. Pom is the other half of the tag team known as Raku Pom alongside Raku. She also is one half of a tag team known as Pom Paler alongside wrestler Max the Impaler, who is not signed full-time to TJPW, but they do frequently make appearances in the promotion. One of the most popular Lovables, Mahiro Kiryu. Mahiro, nicknamed Passion Blue, typically wears full body gear that is blue and white. Now, Mahiro is your everyman. She has solid fundamentals, a lot of anxious energy, a lot of accidental comedy. People really relate to Mahiro. She's very normal, for lack of a better word. Rooted in that normalcy is Mahiro constantly apologizing. That is a frequent bit during her matches where she will roll her opponent over and provide a very traditional Japanese-style apology for a variety of things, usually very comical in nature. Alongside that apology, she also has a pinfall that's known as the apology pin, which is basically a pinning maneuver with the same position, and her finishing move, the spine buster. Mahiro really likes mahjong. She plays that quite a bit, and there's videos that are posted on the TJPW social media accounts, and there's a recurring bit in TJPW where she always gets run over by Hyper Misao's Hypermobile. One of the fastest rising competitors in this lovable group is Wakana Uehara. Wakana doesn't quite have a normal nickname, but she gets introduced as Chasing Dreams and Delivering Dreams, Dreaming Star. A lot of dreams. Wakana typically wears red in her gear. Wakana is very earnest, very sweet, underdog-style competitor, very quickly excelling in her class, only having debuted a few years ago. She is the current Princess Tag Team Champion as one half of the team known as Uber Eats alongside Yuki Kamifuku. In her matches, she typically has the finishing move, the Sushi Tornado, which is a ripcord style maneuver. She also has a submission known as the Banana Pillow, in other wrestling circles known as the Triangle Lancer, and she'll do the Space Rolling Elbow, that's that cartwheel elbow into the corner. Something fun about Wakana is that she is a big eater. She typically posts videos online of her eating enormous amounts of food, and it comes up quite frequently in promos, in mic performances, during the matches. She also recently ate a cheeseburger immediately before a match in the ring as a way to psych herself up for the match. A competitor that you certainly can't miss, Himawari. Himawari is known as the powerful cheeky chap and typically wears yellow and orange gear. You can't miss Himawari because she has incredibly long hair that she claims has never been cut besides her bangs. Himawari has a lot of hyper enthusiasm, terrific facial expressions, and naturally a lot of hair-based offense in the ring. In addition to whipping opponents with her hair, her finishing move is known as the Sunflower Tempest, which is a jackhammer. Sunflower Tempest comes from her name, Himawari, which translates to sunflower. In addition to being a working stage actress, she is also one half of the tag team known as Bumping Gritters alongside Shino Suzuki. One of the more lively competitors of TJPW is Mifu Ashida, the out-of-control cheerleader. Mifu wears a lot of purple, and you can't miss her. She carries around big pom-poms wherever she goes. Those pom-poms frequently come to play within her matches, not as a weapon, but she uses them to cheer on her opponents, her tag team partners. She's a very spirited competitor in a different sense of the word. Despite not using the pom-poms, she'll typically use the X Factor, really cool maneuver. She also uses the Y-shaped guillotine, which is this really neat leg drop where she does the splits. Mifu is not homegrown in TJPW. She actually got her start in Ice Ribbon, and she started wrestling after auditioning for a movie about wrestling. She is a former actress. One of the only masked competitors in TJPW's history is Kaya Toribami, also known as Toripi. You can't miss Kaya. She has a mask that is designed to look like a bird. Kaya is very acrobatic. She's also improving her striking of late in the ring. Her finishing move is known as the Sento Choryu, which is a springboard twisting senton from the ropes. She also has a submission known as the bird cage. Also one of the more distinctive competitors in TJPW is Moka Miyamoto. Moka is nicknamed the Yamato Nadeshiko fighter, the traditional Japanese fighter, and she wears very, very unique gear that is reminiscent of old school Japanese fighting gear. That traditional style of fighting also follows her in the ring, where she's very disciplined. She has a martial arts style, having a martial arts karate background, that very traditional fighting style with her opponents. She typically uses a move called Rashomon, which is a modified abdominal stretch, and also Korakon, which is a swinging suplex neckbreaker. Moka is a former international princess champion, although she didn't get to hold the belt for too long, as she is currently out nursing an injury or an illness. There's been very little information about it. Get well soon, Moka. The last unofficial grouping that we'll talk about is what we'll call the next gen. These 5 girls that we'll discuss are the newest wave of talent, really only debuting in the last year or so. These are the future lovables, the future workhorses. They are the next chapter in the TJPW story. We'll start with Toga, known as the Silver Snow Crystal. Toga typically wears silver gear, and she is TJPW's resident Ikemen. If you are unfamiliar with the term Ikemen, it is basically like a handsome, a good-looking guy, kind of that suave type persona. She is cool as a cucumber, still refining her style in the ring a little bit. Her finishing moves include the Rock Bottom and also the Rolling Thunder. Yes, those 2 same moves from The Rock and RVD respectively. She is one half of a tag team known as Hot Shot with her partner Yuna Manase, who is not signed to TJPW full-time. A strongly supported next-gen competitor is Haru Kazashiro. Haru is the youngest member of the TJPW roster. She is nicknamed Haru Color Cyclone, and she typically wears light blue gear. She's still finding her style in the ring, but she is very quickly growing, and she's a former Next Gen tournament winner. You will typically see her use a fisherman suplex hold and some low cross bodies in her offense. She also looked up to former TJPW wrestler Maki Ito growing up. Chika Nanase, better known as the Energetic Girl, typically wears orange gear. Chika, another one that is currently refining her style in TJPW, but she leans heavily on strikes and power-based moves. She's still relatively new to the TJPW ring, but some of the moves you'll see her bust out include the Inari Tori, which is her submission, a lot of elbow drops, and also what is known as the elbow bat, essentially a strong elbow right to the jaw. Someone that Chika circles quite often is Kira Summer, Chaos Spark. Kira typically wears a pastel blue-colored gear, and she is the only foreigner signed full-time to TJPW, coming from Australia. Kira is also still finding her style, but she has started to hone some power moves and her size. Given that she's a foreigner, she's a little bit bigger than the average TJPW woman. Within her matches, you'll see her execute the Samoan drop quite often, and recently has been using a maneuver called the Hazard Hangover, which is a variation of a sidewalk slam. Fun fact about Kira is that she also has a background working in animation, in addition to her wrestling training. And the newest member of the TJPW roster, Ren Konatsu, known as the Popping Fancy Sheep. Ren typically wears pastel purples, pastel pink in her gear. Given that she is the newest roster member, she's still in figure-it-out mode a little bit. She doesn't have a finishing move or a signature move just yet, but what you should know is that she carries around a very small sheep keychain with her everywhere she goes. She also adores SKE48, the idol group that Yuki Arai used to be a part of. You know what, I lied. We'll cover one more brief category, just some personnel that you should know. These four individuals are not active wrestlers, but they are on TJPW shows very, very frequently. Tetsuya Koda is the general manager of TJPW. He's the skinny gentleman, typically sitting down at a table, occasionally gets involved in matches as well, usually for comedic effect. Rise Shirai is TJPW's ring announcer. If you watch a TJPW show, she opens up each one with some announcements, some news, and of course goes over the match card for each show. Daisuke Kiso frequently referees for TJPW. He's a gentleman that has longer hair, usually it's in a ponytail. He referees a lot of comedy matches as well, so if you see a recurring referee that is a guy, it's likely Daisuke Kiso. And if you see a referee that is a female, it is likely Fumarin. Fumarin is TJPW's first full-time referee. Usually she has her hair in pigtails or buns. Outside of refereeing, Fumarin is what is known as a rakugo performer. It's a style of Japanese comedic storytelling. Fumarin is also multilingual, so you will see her appear on English commentary from time to time. Speaking of English commentary, if there is English commentary on a show that you are watching, it is likely Mr. Haku. Mr. Haku has been involved with TJPW in some capacity here and there, doing English translation, English commentary. He helps out as they bring in foreign wrestlers as well, with translation and getting around a little bit. Grab your cold spray and your ice packs, because that brings us to the end of our first bonus episode. I hope you found this beginner's guide helpful. If you did, hit that subscribe button wherever you're listening, wherever you get your podcasts, for future beginner's guides, and of course, the weekly Tokyo Joshi Pod dropping every Friday. We cover the news, the recent shows, we even check in on some graduates and excursions as well. You can follow us on social media at Tokyo Joshi Pod on Instagram, TikTok, and X. We also have an email if you'd like to chat with us, tokyojoshipod@gmail.com. But above all else, remember to keep your hearts burning, stay magical, my friends, and we'll see you next time on the Tokyo Joshi Pod.